I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. Anybody's welcome to come up and speak. See Sophoah and Theo, thank you for coming. Fortune, Patrick, Great Old One, and Waru. Hey Sophoah, how you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Doing good, thank you. That was good space you did with one RPC yesterday.
Yeah. Did you join? Did you join the session?
Yeah, I was listening to it at least.
Okay, cool.
Do you have anything about HIP 30 you'd like to talk about?
To me right now, nothing much unless you guys have any questions, because I feel the consensus right now, at least Casey see it like this, right? We just maybe just move ahead with only the HIP 31 and 2 for now, okay? But I wanted to discuss all those details with anyone here if there was any questions,
It's much appreciated. So it looks like HIP 30 Part 1 and 2 are going to be scheduled for a snapshot vote.
Yep. Yeah, this is what we want to do, and wanted to have final feedback or questions, if any.
Yeah. Hey Theo, how you doing?
Doing well. A bit tired. It's a bit early here, but doing well.
Well, we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, so I want to touch on a little bit what Soph was saying, because currently on the talk forum, it's still the bundled HIP 31 and HIP 32, which is again the emission split and then the reduction in shards, and just that currently we're moving forward with a more bundled complete version of HIP 30. So it's one that includes a lot of community feedback and will kind of be one of the things that we're removing is the limit of one BLS key for each node. But again, this is still like going through the internal process of getting passed internally. So we can't really post anything yet until that's all done. But just like an update is we were ready to go with bundling just the first and second ones, but we thought if we can maybe incorporate a lot of community feedback, why not see what the community engagement would be around bundling a complete HIP 30.
That sounds excellent. That's exactly why we're doing this space here, to try to get some more community feedback.
I think like a good use of the space could also be just general questions that people might have, or main concerns, or if it's like specific HIP30, like if it's HIP30 like 3, for example, which is the decrease in total nodes per shard, like if people have main concerns about that, or if it's if all the questions are mainly on the staking initiative, and like the emission split, then internally that'll help us as well, kind of gauge of which places we need to tackle. I shared with David, with Fortune, the most recent kind of internal works of the HIP30, the updated version of it. But again, any feedback that people have just in general, then we can know, like, I guess even ahead of time before this talk forum post, if we're covering things, because it does cover a lot of the questions that were being asked throughout the forum. So we do look at that. I know, like, some people might not think that we do, but it's something that we go through and really do our due diligence and iterate and want to continue to do so.
So, would you like to go into a little more detail on the HIP30 Part 3 on decreasing the number of nodes from 250 to 100?
Yeah, so I can cover kind of more of the higher level things, but I think if we go more into the technical details, then I think Casey will also be able to answer those. So this is just like on a high level of reducing nodes, right? You decrease the number of required message exchanges, right? And then you limit the communication overhead. So you're a more optimized network. You can, like, currently what we could do is if we split shards, then if we condense down to 2 shards, right, we would have one that remained at 2-second finality, and then we could have one that's a 1-second finality. So now we can kind of play with these two things, right? We could have like a fast shard and a normal shard. People in the past have said a gaming shard, right? And now that we have kind of in post HIP30 world, I guess we have like an optimized opportunity to play around with these 2 shards, and who knows if that leads to the need for more shards, right? We know that we can have that as well. If even at just 2 shards, it shows us that it's even not optimized, then we can start to think about going down to 1 shard. But it's a nice stepping stone to play around with this fast finality versus the current finality. So it'll play around between 2 and 1, and then we'll be able to gauge what we can do from there.
Well, that 1-second finality is going to be huge. Does the HIP30 Part 3 have anything to do with the leader nodes, or is Harmony still going to be controlling the leader nodes?
For this, yes. I think in like an HIP31, like we had spoken about HIP 29 before, for that rotation. And it's still something that's planned. But I think trying to do the leader rotation and just, I guess, an overall rotation, it's difficult to do them both at the same time. But the internal nodes will also be reduced. Currently, that'd be around like from 100 down to something around 50, if I remember from the document. So that'll be reduced, but it won't be transitioned externally yet for HIP30.
And we've done a lot of development already for the external nodes. So it's really just waiting on governance.
So Harmony is going to be going from 100 to around 50. So that's going to make it so most validators should be okay, you think? When we get reduced?
Well, I'm not sure on that question a little bit. I mean, Harmony's role is to at least give the other external nodes an equal chance at consensus. I think in the past, I think Harmony has kind of driven the ship, and we want to like open it up. I mean, I'm happy to implement anything that the community wants. Right, my job isn't to force governance, and my job isn't really to propose governance changes too much. It's really I'm a listening post a little bit. Obviously I want to drive adoption, and I want to drive a network that is very secure, fast, and reliable, and decentralized. And obviously I think the community has a lot of say in all of that, and I think you guys need to be the voice of how Harmony evolves. And from a technical side, I think we're ready to implement whatever the community decides. So obviously I think we want to be optimized this year, and we want to tell the story of like being able to scale up and down. And if we kind of put these processes in place where we actually do it the right way, where we are able to scale these shards up and down, we're able to reduce node validator counts and BLS keys, and potentially, ramp those back up when there's usability. I think that tells a better story of a blockchain that's malleable, a blockchain that's scalable, and I think it's overall best for the network. So.
No, I agree. Has there been any, do you have any idea, like, what would happen with the median stake? Where, with the reduction in rewards, and you think it'll get much higher?
Are you talking about the emissions, or are you just talking about just staking rewards in general?
The median stake. Let me answer that question. So to be honest, it's difficult to predict. Okay, because as we reduce numbers of BLS keys, right, some big validators will have to reshuffle the keys, right, even reduce their keys, right? So by doing so, what would happen is that they would use less slot, right? And I can't predict how many of them will do so. So right now, I try to do a simulation, but I realize it's really not easier, okay? Because you can't predict what the validator would do, right? David came to me 2 days ago or yesterday in regards of Infinity Stone, right? That has inefficient bid. But even if I told them it took a while to readjust, and who knows what they would do once that change happened. Okay, so it's difficult. Yeah.
I think one note on that too is like if you have a chain that doesn't optimize and the token price decreases slowly over time, the staking rewards, it might be great to see 8%, but I think obviously I'm not a speculator by any means, but I think like if you do the right thing to a network and you improve it and you show the use case for it, I think that value goes up, right? So like, I think that's part of my thinking, and like the emission reduction is like, it's not reducing just the number of rewards, but it's also kind of giving back to the recovery, which in turn makes the network stronger. And it's like almost like a temporary thing that, you know, isn't going to last forever, right? Like once recovery is done, those emission, what's going to be left over is probably going to go back to the validators. So
we burn it all. I can see.
Say that again. Sorry, this phone is
we
really bad.
we burn it all.
yeah. I mean, burning is also a great idea. Like I love that aspect too. And if the chain is able to burn, I think I read something like Ethereum just burned like 208,000 ETH the last this month alone. And they're able to do that because they have a lot of users and they have great usability. I think Harmony, it's like any staking chain, and I think this is just a fault at EPOS, is that validators get so hooked up onto that like static reward structure, and it kind of bleeds from that network. So like it's almost like a ship that just like is like slowly running out of gas. And I think giving back to the infrastructure of it, temporarily, and bringing that value back and hopefully the confidence back in users is just going to drive the price, hopefully, to what it was.
That sounds excellent. So I know that'll make a lot of people happy, because I know there was a lot of people have been wondering what's going to happen after the recovery. So there is plans that after the recovery, potentially that'll go back to the validators and for staking rewards.
I mean, potentially, right? I think like the network has a little bit of a duty to decentralize its development, and I don't think Harmony it takes the same kind of like stance as maybe like the Ethereum Foundation a little bit in reducing its role over time, and having a little bit of a structure where, hey, emissions also helps promote the network's infrastructure improvements. And I think that the first year, obviously, we said like goes to recovery, and then I think that whole year leading up to that should be a discussion of what happens next. But I think the network kind of has its, I wouldn't say like it doesn't have like it has like a role of giving back to the recovery process a little bit, I think, and that's what I feel as well. Like I said, I try to stay out of governance. But I think like when a big hack happens, and if the chain isn't going to do like a rollback, kind of like the DAO hack at Ethereum, it probably should use some of those emissions to kind of make right to its users. Yeah, just kind of my 2 cents, I think.
I agree that we definitely got to get past this and get whole again. So right now the HIP 30 Part 4, you think is off the table, or is it still in discussion?
I think at this point, like anything in HIP 30 is up for discussion. I think we'll post something that removes it and see the feedback, right? If we remove it and all of a sudden the mass majority is like, what the heck are you guys thinking? Then we go back to the drawing board, right? This is kind of going off of Casey as well. Like if we want to have this more decentralized approach, that's how we start, is through the governance process of it, right? Like currently there was even some discrepancy between our own internal docs and then the VDAO charter. So even for HIP, what was it, 2028 V2B, right? Like it's people are going back and forth of like, okay, what's the actual documentation on the process on this? How do we reach quorum? How do we do certain things? And then in the next year, it's how is this a mission, right? Because the emission is like, if it's at like what 2 cents, that's the 4.4 million a year. Like that can go very, very far for an ecosystem, and that's now you have like this recurring fund, and if you have a body that can control these funds and then to keep them in check, like you have a governance structure. So now you have governance, you have people behind it in a decentralized way, and then you have funding, and then all of this is for the betterment of the ecosystem. So now you have kind of like a yearly budget that can be allocated where the community most wants it, right? Like that can be recovery. And then if after a year of recovery, people think, okay, we want more of this, or more of DeFi, or more of like burning, like Casey said, like it gives people options. It's kind of like an iteration off of the split from HIP 28 V2B that strictly focuses on gas fees and gas collection. And now HIP 30 is kind of this expansion of what if the network itself was self-sustaining, right? Like other networks, if they don't have this split, what happens after like the eventual bear market, right? Like this is something that like normally you can only really focus on and see once you've gone through a bear and bull, but it's also once you've survived one of them, right? So you're able to see what happens when the funding goes down and when times are tough, and you start to think of solutions of long-term sustainability, right? Like this isn't like a quick 1-year fix of getting rid of recovery, right? This is the self-perpetuating harmony that like the community would have a much larger role in defining.
I think that's exactly what's going to drive the adoption too, because I mean the community wants to be a part of it, and they want to be heard, and there's no better way to do it than.
Can I comment on the HIP 30-4? Because ultimately, unless we do it on the protocol level, Tracy, right? That change that we did last time from limited by one to multiple PLS per node, right, is actually a client thing, right? So what I mean is that any developer, if we had to remove it, right, and force it to be one BLS key per node, they can easily remodify the client, okay, to allow multi-BLS. So as I said, unless we do a protection on the protocol level directly, right, any developer could modify the client. Okay, so just to take note.
I noticed there was some talk about getting rid of the EPOS, or changing it.
And I think this is something that Casey was also mentioning before and through the forums, and this would be like a way that we'd watch validator rewards, right? And if there's that need for changing the EPOS, then it's something that we can iterate and make sure that it's being optimized, as well as the other changes.
Hey Patrick, how you doing?
Hey everyone, doing good. I'll have a question. I just got to research something here quick first. I guess first is, are we going to get an updated roadmap at all at any point? Does anybody have one?
I mean, I release quarterly reports. That's kind of like what I've been doing. But in terms of like a long-term roadmap, I did like a yearly review. So I think that's kind of like where we're going right now. I know I have like a white paper version 3 that I've been kind of slowly working on. But in terms of like the like the roadmap that you see, like you know, like Ethereum, like they remove sharding, right? So like I think like a roadmap is very, very flexible, and like if you plan too far ahead, it just like opens yourself up to like being let down or like getting your hopes up on a certain feature. So like people thought like sharding was going to happen on Ethereum. Now it's not, because of like how popular like layer 2 solutions are. And so I think like you know, doing like the yearly like, you know, goals and what we're planning on doing, and then doing like the quarterly reports of what we actually got done and like what's next on there is kind of like how we've been pushing forward.
Okay, I guess the next question is, Casey said we were going to cut out 3 and 4 from voting. So is this just going to be a bundle of 1 and 2 that we're voting on? Or go up as their own separate things, since they can both be voted and enabled, or not separately?
So this will be bundled all together. So this will be something that does include 3 as well, but won't include 4.
Right. So we are voting on 3 and 4. I thought that was posted that that's out.
So we'd be voting on 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so we've added back in going down to 300 slots from 1,000 currently. Or sorry, 200.
Correct, but that will also have iterations to it.
So it's a slow road to cutting out 800 slots, or it would just happen at once?
So the total would still go down all at once, but exactly the different splits between shard 0 and shard 1 that we're still defining.
What do you mean different splits? They're all even?
Correct, but we're also looking into seeing if it might be more optimized to have a different nodes allocation per shard 0 and then shard 1.
Well, with a target of 200 slots total between the two.
Yes, around so it could be like either, I guess externally it'd be potentially 225, slots for shard 0, and then 200 for shards 1, or for shard 1. But on that specific distinction, I think Casey might know more than I do on that.
I mean, 30-3 says go to 100 per shard, right?
Correct, and that would be updated.
Any other questions or anything?
Yeah, if anybody else wants to come up and ask any questions, well, we got people here that can answer them. Feel free. We don't want to take up all your day.
So overall, you guys are going to rewrite all this and repost it for 2 weeks again? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's the plan.
It looks like on the talk forum that HIP 30 Part 4 has more support than Part 1 did.
But that's the misconception that it's one slot per validator, and it's not. It's one per server, which is a big difference. And the big boys will still be able to run 12 keys if they want to run 12 servers.
Right.
Well, in theory, servers.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on limiting each node to one BLS key?
Yeah.
So on this,
let
me just read
per server, not one per validator. So you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, so again, the one BLS key per server, that's something that could be modified, okay, by any developer. Yeah, it's just a client version, right? So shouldn't be that difficult, especially that we already have that today. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Well, if there's no more questions, I don't want to hold you guys up all day, but I really appreciate everybody coming and joining. And if anybody has anything else they'd like to discuss, now's the time.
Let me just add on here. So it's not the topic, it's not HIP 30, right? But if the committee want to push for HIP 29, right? I think Casey already mentioned about that. Just we can have more discussion on it, and we can also reduce, how many internal nodes in the network. Okay, so that's something that we could do as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Casey, Sophoah, and Theo, for joining us, and Patrick, and everybody else. We'll keep getting community feedback. And
Yep. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate the time and listening.
Yeah, appreciate everyone coming out. Depending on whatever time zone you guys are in, just showing up is big. I appreciate all the feedback and Patrick the questions and yeah, we'll continue to iterate and little by little we'll get there, and I think we can all agree that once we get to the other side, harmony will be for the better. So let's continue.
well, thanks again, everybody. This is Peace, Love, Harmony, and I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll do this again soon.
Okay, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good night. Bye bye.